Hello and welcome to Somerset News Network. Very important that everybody makes sure there's no rigging of this election. Elections have to be free and fair. In the past, we've had elections being rigged, and I'll explain how they do it. So anybody that's involved in the counts, and if you're a candidate or agent, you will be going to counts, look out for things. Ballot papers that are spoilt. Sometimes the counters will decide how you meant to vote. I've seen it in parish elections. I was a parish councillor for 8 years. I stood up twice for election. And they look at the paper and they decide, oh, that one was spoilt, but they meant to vote Conservative or they meant to vote Labour. So look out for those changes. The other thing that can happen is that postal votes are being bought. There was a report that the one party, I'm not going to name parties or people or places in this, I don't think that's fair, but they were offering £10 for a postal vote. So if you had a postal vote, you could give it to the party workers and they would give you a tenner. That is illegal. That is not a free and fair election. That is totally illegal. It's fraud. Another thing they were doing were party activists who were working for social services, were going round to elderly people, getting their postal votes and saying, don't worry, I'll fill that in for you and send it off. Who were you going to vote for? I was going to vote for the Conservatives. Right, and they tick it for Labour and put it in. 2 councillors were jailed in Brimingham for that. Now we hear the Labour Party, and I'll put up the photograph here, in the local elections, were promoting the idea that students could vote twice. Once where they're in digs at the university and at home, and they could register to vote twice. And they were promoting this. Now, if it was happening in the local elections, it's going to be happening in this election. We have to wipe corruption out in this country. We have to have free and fair elections. It's up to everybody who's at the counts to make sure this isn't happening. How else will they do it? I think they'll just print. The other thing they could do is just print extra postal votes and just fill them in. There was a picture of a ballot box being opened up, and every single ballot paper was stacked one on top of the other when it came out. They had been put in the box, stacked. It was on the BBC. It was the European elections it was on, and I was watching it, and it was about 12:30, something like that, in the morning. The ballot boxes were being opened. It was shown once on the BBC. When I got up in the morning, I thought, oh, I'll try and find that again, because it showed that those ballot papers were put in the box. They were not higgledy-piggledy like they should have been, like the rest of the boxes when they came out. Those papers, those voting papers, had been stacked and put in the ballot box like that, which takes me to believe that they were rigged votes. And that was in the European elections. That was only shown once on the BBC. I went on the BBC iPlayer and watched the whole thing through again, and that little clip, only about 3 or 4 seconds, was taken out. I know what I saw. But I can't prove it because it's not there anymore. We know the BBC edit news items. They edited the talk news question time that they did with the Prime Minister and added laughter to it in the wrong place. The BBC are so pro-Labour, it's frightening. But we're sharp people, we're smart people, and we know we're being lied to, and we know it's propaganda. We can see through it now. We know what it means. Labour reports over this general election have been pro-Labour. Although they've questioned Labour, it's still been pro-Labour. And most of the reporting on the Conservatives have been negative, although they've questioned the negative answers as if it's probing. Andrew Marr and the Prime Minister was an awful interview. He tried to make the Prime Minister look an idiot. It backfired on him. So in this election, we've got to stop voter fraud. So look at, if you're a party worker, look out for it and make sure it's not happening. If you see anything, question it. Make sure this election is free and fair. Anyway, Ian, Somerset News Network, signing off, and let's hope we can stop the corruption.